Hi, I'm Joshua.
Hi, I'm Chloe,
Welcome to the Musical Chairs podcast.
where we talk about and review a musical every week.
Yeah, so how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I've definitely been better, but I mean, we're going back to in-person school, so that's
Soon.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're back in the school that hybrid before that we were in for. And I'm not ready to go to school tomorrow.
Me neither. I don't want to do that. I
But
don't.
yeah, we're going back to all in person soon.
Yeah, for like the first time in a million years.
Yes.
So.
But anyways, why is there an X? I'm removing this X. Hold on. Okay. Anyways, the musical this week is Spring Awakening. So the the history is Spring Awakening is a rock musical based off of the original 1891 play by Frank Wedekind.
Yeah, it's like Wedekind.
Its music is written by Duncan Sheik and book/lyrics written by Steven Satter. I almost said Steven. Spring Awakening opened on Broadway on December 10th, 2006. That's a year, almost a little bit less than a year after I was born. My birthday would have been 5 days after. And it had a Broadway revival in 2015. And it has received 9 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, as well as 4 Drama Desk Awards.
Dang, it deserves every single one of them.
Yes, it's very good.
So we have a very short synopsis this time, but basically what Spring Awakening is generally about is
very generally.
It is set in the late 19th century Germany, and the musical tells the story of teenagers discovering inner and outer tumult of adolescent sexuality.
Thank you, Wikipedia, because we both forgot to write a synopsis before
Yes.
we started.
Honestly, I thought the one we wrote before was better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, way better. Way better.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the original Broadway cast was, how do I say it? It's not Milky.
Melchior.
Melchior?
Yeah.
Okay, Melchior, played by Jonathan Groff. Wendla, played by Liam Michelle, I think.
Sorry, I love her.
Moritz, played by John Gallagher Jr. Ilse? Sure.
Yeah.
Lauren Pritchard, adult woman, played by who's adult woman?
Okay, so you know how like everyone, like you know how
everyone has the same mom.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Okay, and so adult woman is the only adult woman in the entire show. Mm-hmm. Played by Christine Estabrook, the only adult man, played by Stefan Spinella. Yeah, and I was like, why does everyone have the same mom?
I know. I was like, are they all siblings? Like, w's going on here? Incest.
Because she doesn't change or anything. She's in the same outfit.
I was so confused. But I mean, I figured it out later.
So. It makes sense because, like, for everyone else, if they had a specific mom for each of them, they would be there for like literally 3 seconds.
That is so true. Yeah, that is true. Now we go to our guiding questions.
Oh, by the way, just a disclaimer: this one is, it goes into sex, to be blunt, and it talks about kids' sexual awakening and just a bunch of stuff like that. So if you don't, and it gets very deep into it. So if you're not comfortable with that, skip this one.
Yep, just don't.
Skip this one.
It's full. So if you're a couple,
very visual. Oh, okay. Very visual.
Most visual I've ever seen.
Yeah. So don't watch it if you're not comfortable, and don't listen to this podcast if you're not comfortable with that. But if you're fine with it, then continue listening.
There's no way that we're gonna avoid it like we did in
we physically can't avoid it. Because that's what it's about.
Okay, so are there any actors in particular that you
Jonathan Groff?
Yes. Great.
He's very good. I love him.
Yeah, he was great in Hamilton and Rogue
Obviously, yes.
too. So
He's
we love
great
him.
in everything he does.
I really enjoyed seeing him like I know in Hamilton, like, yeah, you could hear him and like see him sing and stuff like that, but it wasn't very long. Like I liked really seeing him as like the main
Yeah.
character.
Mhm.
Like it was great.
And
it was
his acting was obviously incredible, amazing.
Yeah.
His voice, beautiful, amazing.
It was really cool. For me, I would probably say, other than Jonathan Groff, I would probably say Leah Michelle, because I'm a Glee fan. Maybe probably many of you are too.
Yes. I haven't seen it still.
I know you should really watch it. It has Jonathan Groff.
Yeah, I was like, isn't he in like some of it?
Yes. And she played Rachel in Glee, and so obviously, and I really liked seeing her doing, because in Glee, like she's like goes on Broadway and stuff. Like she's really good in Glee, but I liked actually seeing her do like a Broadway show. So yeah, she was great. Really good.
Yeah, she was also very good.
So on that kind of note, who is your favorite character?
My favorite character? Maybe probably either... what's that one guy? Moritz? Is that his name?
Yeah,
that guy. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was personally gonna say him too, because he's just like a really well-rounded character.
Yes.
And he goes through a lot of stuff.
He goes through a lot, yes.
Yeah.
He goes through a big change.
Yeah. He's great. Other than that, I don't know.
There's not many to choose from.
There's not a lot. There's like the two main characters, then there's like their friends, and and then adults, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. An adult woman, an adult man.
Yeah. I would probably say him, or just like one of the main ones.
Yeah.
Or
they're all good.
Yeah, they're honestly great. Like there's no one that I really hate other than the abortionist. So and
I don't like the mom.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes the mom was just kind of like okay.
Mom depending. Actually, all the moms sucked.
Yeah, all
the moms sucked.
Okay, and then if you could be cast in the musical, who do you want to be and why?
Again, little options.
There is these two guys that are only in there for like a split second.
Yeah, there are those two guys that just like sing sometimes.
Yeah, they had a whole scene, and they were in there for like 1 second, and they had like a sexual awakening. Yeah, they were on like the treehouse thing, and they realized
probably Moritz, because I don't know how comfortably I can do a sex scene.
Yeah, especially like,
I mean, obviously that will change if I'm like, currently I would not be comfortable doing that. Maybe if I'm older, yes, but at the current moment, no.
I would probably say like Ilsa, probably, because she doesn't have a huge part, but she still has like a part, and she doesn't have a scene, so yeah. Probably her or the mom, the adult woman.
Very adult woman.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. And then who would you recommend this to?
Not children.
Definitely.
Definitely not children. If you're uncomfortable again with like any sex stuff, no. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it.
Don't even like know the musical. Just like
don't even look at the title. Don't even like.
I was not at this musical.
Also, even if you're not like completely uncomfortable with it, but like if you obviously just like that's not your favorite thing, then don't either. But that just leaves anyone else.
Much. I like anyone else, or
also it's the music is more like current too. Like what was it? Like rock or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's
so
what
I feel like that kind of music too. Might want to
Yeah,
check it out as well.
yeah, because like it's more like I was thinking like some people hate the like cheesiness of musical music, but
Yeah.
like this musical music, it's kind of almost like Rent music. Like
Yeah.
it kind of has that same similarities.
Yeah.
If you like that kind of style, or
Mhm.
if you like Rent, I would suggest maybe watching
Oh
this
yeah.
one. And what would you rate it out of 10?
Probably like an 8 or a 9.
I would honestly say that I would probably say like 8.5, probably 9, because
Yeah.
like like I would rate it 10 out of 10 because it was really good. Like it's
Mhm.
very rare that a musical like brings me to emotional tears.
Mm.
Like it's just like I wasn't expecting a lot of the stuff,
Yeah.
and so I was just kind of like, oh, okay, but ultimately really good. So,
Oh,
camera
you're
went
back.
away. Um. So yeah.
Yeah. So from now on, there's spoilers.
What?
Mhm.
For actually?
Just a tad.
Yeah.
A tad bit of spoilers. A little bit.
So there's spoilers, and then also the again second disclaimer. It's very very sexual, like
Yes.
very contains a lot of that content. So
Yes.
if you're around like anyone who's not okay with that, or if you're not okay with that, then
Yes.
leave.
Skip this one. Tune in next week for whatever we're doing.
Yeah, tune in next week instead. So
Yeah.
or
listen to our last ones.
Yeah, true. We have a lot of last ones that are not as sexual in content. So
Yes.
yeah, but this was still very good. So I mean,
Yes.
we take risk. So yeah,
It starts off with what's her name? Wendla.
yes.
Wendla. I don't know their names. I thought what is it? Melky. What is it?
Melchior.
Melchior. I thought his name was Milky for the good whole entire thing. Literally till the end, I was like, okay, I guess his name's Milky.
I thought that was at the beginning, but then I realized I was like,
It was literally like to literally like the last like couple songs. I was like, oh, it's not Milky.
I know, yeah. It was a little bit confusing, but you were very close.
Yes,
very close.
I was very close. But yeah, she's pretty much telling her mom how like humans are created because she's very innocent. Her mom doesn't tell her anything at all, which is a lot of parents do. They don't tell their children anything.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the point where like they start getting curious about stuff, they don't know anything.
Exactly. Been there, done that.
And they're just like too innocent to exist at like 13, 14. They like don't know anything.
Exactly. I had mine ruined by someone else, but not. So, yeah, she's very innocent, and she's like, "How does this happen?" And her mother literally lies.
She still tells her storks. She's still telling her storks. And it's like, I don't believe in the stork anymore. She's like, well, when a man and a woman love each other so much,
then they have children.
Yes. Then she just has one. She's like, all right, cool. And the thing is, she believes that. And this is very important for later, which we'll get into later. She believes that. She thinks, okay. And they also have to be married.
Yep, exactly. And she believes every word. She believes every single word.
She doesn't even know sex exists.
No.
She's not aware of it at all.
So, and then all the other girls
like all her friends
too. Like they're like, oh yeah, we're lacking this knowledge. Like we need to know. We need to know what's going on here. Because,
And she's just like, well, if my mom doesn't tell me anything else, I guess that's the only thing I can rely on.
Yeah, which is true because,
like there's nothing else she can go off of. Like
exactly. Because none of her friends know, so
yeah, everyone's unaware and they're like crazy innocent, like they don't know anything at all. Nothing.
Nothing. And then it switches to the boys part because in this time period it's all separated to like boys and girls school.
Oh yeah, because it's like what 1900s 1800s.
Yeah, Something around that time.
Because it's 19th century, so 1800s.
Mm.
Why is it like that?
I'm not exact. I feel like my.
Oh no, it's okay.
I didn't print it on.
Okay, so Chloe's iPad died, so we had to very quickly figure out stuff. So she printed the Google Doc of
Yep.
our songs on her phone.
Yes. And we figured it out.
Yes.
Because the show must go on.
The show must go on. But anyways,
Okay.
it goes to All of Me, where Milky, that I'm calling him that. I can't remember. I'm not, his real name is too complicated. I'm calling him Milky. So Milky is like reflects on how school is, and he's like, school sucks. This is dumb. Like, what's the point of this? Pretty much. He's like, why aren't you like making us do other things?
Because like all the boys are like together, and they're all
it's
like
a super strict school where like if they mess up, they get whipped. So
yeah. So it's just like he's like, this is dumb.
They were also introduced to Moritz.
Yes, his friend.
And he is like really nervous because he didn't remember something. He knows if he doesn't remember it, he'll get whipped. And so it gets really, and so then he stands up and like does like a speech being like, this is dumb. And then he gets whipped instead.
Oh, yay.
Yay.
Very fun.
Whipping's a big plot point later.
Yeah, definitely. It changes some things. And then this again, disclaimer, Moritz.
Not 2 words.
Moritz is talking, they're all talking about their like sexual thoughts, and he in particular is having.
Also at this time, boys tend to know more. Still not everything, but they tend to know more about all this stuff. They're usually told all this stuff sooner. And especially Milky, he knows everything pretty much.
He knows
he knows everything.
I say about it. Because he's learned it from like books, because he's such like a bookworm or whatever.
No, I think he's just because school is dumb. I'm gonna do my own stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. He goes on his own like studies and stuff. Yeah. And he's been having like, you know, he's struggling with sexual stuff, and he's
sexual just because he doesn't know anything really. He knows very little, and so.
And that's why Melky writes an essay for him and like explaining everything.
Did you say Melky?
I did. Milk.
Chloe, you do not say milk. Do you say milk?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying because he's like Melchior, so I was just saying.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, Chloe, I'm literally gonna end our friendship if you say milk.
End the Zoom call. We're done.
And
so yeah, he writes an essay for him, and they're
and like a pamphlet pretty much with like, and I think he's like, and if you could draw a little like in the side, could you draw like
yes puts like very like visual drawings in there. So yeah. And then the girls also do this too in the next
not
song.
As much. But there's not nearly as much because they don't know anything.
No, it's not like sexual. They're just like, oh, we can't wait to marry the men. They're not as like intimate with their fantasizing.
Yeah.
And Moritz is still very frustrated.
Yes.
He
also like freaks out. He starts freaking out about everything. He's like stressed and like jittery. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but throughout the musical, his hair slowly gets more like messy.
Yeah, I know.
As he's slowly breaking down, his hair gets messier throughout the whole thing.
Which is a great representation. Like really good.
Yeah.
Really good job. Yeah, he gets really upset about this whole like frustration about his sexual thoughts and his like erratic dreaming and like stuff like that. And so in the next song, they're all sharing their desires for like stuff like that. But I feel bad for this guy. He's just so confused, and he's trying to wrap his head
He just
around.
dumped all this information on.
Exactly, and he's like struggling with how to handle it. Like yeah.
Because he knew nothing before, and now he knows everything.
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
Like,
it's
imagine
really,
from like one night, you just go from knowing nothing to knowing everything.
yeah, yeah.
Not just what it is, but like how to do it too.
Yeah. hmm So that would definitely be a little bit scarring. um, and then
Dark I know too well.
oh yeah, wait, no,
Is it? What?
No, the next one is
Oh, I said one. Yep, you're right.
I was like, what? But the next one, Melchior and Wendla, they start having a thing for each other because they like start like reconnecting on their childhood friendship and how they never really like finished it off. Like they just kind of like broke off from each other and stuff. And then they start like realizing that they may have like they start fantasizing about like physical relationships with one another and what it would be like to like give everything to each other, which is foreshadowing for later.
Foreshadowing. So. Also, another thing, in all the songs, it's their thoughts. Like, you know, like Waitress, I don't know. When He Sees Me in Waitress, it's about Dawn she's still expressing her thoughts, but she's still talking to like Becky and Jenna. And so like they're still part of it. But in this one, it's like just their thoughts.
Yes, and the other cool thing about this is to kind of represent that in each song, the character's thought, like the character who's presenting their thoughts, has a mic.
A microphone, yes. And it's always so funny because they'll just like pull out of their suit.
I know, or like it'll be on the floor, or
it'll
like
be on the floor, and we won't know it's there. And then they just like, here's a mic.
Exactly. Like one time, I saw a stage crew member just like run like rapidly and hand it to someone, run off, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, so that's how they represent that. They have mics that they're not their actual mics because like you can hear them without those mics. So I think there's just like prop mics that are just like there.
Yeah, probably.
And so then they said that's how you know that when they're in their thoughts. It's just their thoughts talking.
Yeah.
They have a mic, which because there's some parts where they do sing like to each other.
Yeah. And speaking of that whole thing, this is again spoiler. But at the end, when Melchior's like by himself in like the graveyard thing, he's walking around and looking for like new tombs and stuff like that. And I think he had his mic in his pocket, and because something dropped out of his pocket and like fell off the stage.
Oh.
And I was like, and so he literally went and like picked it up, like so in character. He literally just like picked it up, put it back in his pocket.
I didn't notice that.
Went back to what he was doing. And I was like, wow. Like I felt like
that shows talent there.
Yeah. Because like I couldn't really tell if that was planned or not. I don't think it was, but it really seemed like really well done. So yeah. Anyway, getting back to the word of your body.
Now, what?
Well, now it's the dark I know well, but yeah.
So this is where Martha, one of whatever her name is, friends, Wendla, that's her name. She shares that her dad abuses her.
Yes, because she and physically. She accidentally reveals it, but then she starts talking.
Because then her friends are like, "We're gonna cut your hair. You need to put your hair out of something else." He's like, "Well, my dad can't. My dad already hits me enough."
Yeah. And then they're like, what? Like, they're all so concerned.
Yeah. Really. And she talks about it and how her mom doesn't care because her mom, which also happens with a lot of parents. Like, I know people like this, where they're like, their mom just agrees with their dad no matter what.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Well, he's the boss. He makes the rules. You follow his rules, no matter how messed up they are.
Yeah, exactly. And like, because like often it's like, you know, because they don't want to cause problems with their own relationship.
Yeah.
Hey.
And the dad like manipulated them to think that he's always right.
exactly, yeah. And so she like shares that
And she
experience.
doesn't want anyone to tell because if their parents find out that other people know, then he'll hurt her more. So
And like she was saying that she didn't want to end up like Ilsa, which is like because she had the same thing where her parents abused her too,
yeah,
and then threw her out, and now she's
yeah,
homeless. And
yeah.
so yeah, no good. But this inspires Wendla because
Because
she's well
she's
not
never been hit, she's never been abused or anything. So
mm-hmm.
she's just like, well, I want to know what it's like because I feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
And so she goes to Melky and he's just chilling, And then he tells her what happened. She's like, oh no, that's horrible. And he's like, you should hit me. You should abuse me. He's like, what?
I know. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
And then she finds just like a whip on the ground.
yeah, it's
Like,
literally
eat this. He's like, no, what? And then actually he convinces her to do it. And he just like whips her a little bit. She's like, I didn't feel that.
yeah, she keeps on being like, I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
I,
And he's like, well, maybe if you lift up your dress, I don't know. And so she does it. But then they both get like two in character in this.
yeah.
Not like that. Like they're like the character gets two in character.
Yeah, because he's like starts like unleashing like all his anger onto her, and then it's just like
Here's the thing. I think they both enjoyed it. No, because at first, because I think in like a kinky way.
I mean, like perhaps.
Because then afterwards they're like, it unleashed something like in me. Because they talked about it later. They're like, I
Oh,
felt something in me. And she was like, yeah, me too. So I think
maybe.
but then afterwards he felt really bad. He was like, and then he like ran away because he didn't know what else to do. But I
Uh-huh.
think they enjoyed it. I think they both enjoyed doing it. Not
Yeah,
like messed up, like I'm hitting you, haha, like in a kinky sexual way.
yeah, that's the first like thing they like,
Yeah.
you know, experience with each other.
What's also funny is that when she lifts off her dress, he like stares at her butt for like a little bit, and then he keeps going.
I know. It's like it was. I
Because doesn't
noticed.
he like push her to the ground and like call her a bitch?
Yeah.
I think he did. I think he does that,
Mm-hmm.
and then he
Yeah.
felt that, and that's when he runs away.
Yeah. And he runs for the hills. And then after that, I was gonna say that's where the act ends, but that's definitely not where the act ends. And then he's like reflecting. He's saying like he's starting to like realize that he's kind of frustrated because he feels like he's in the middle of like adulthood. Or wait, oh my gosh, I skipped something. Sorry.
I was like, I don't think you're on the right one. I just like did it. I was like, okay.
Eventually, I was just a little bit off. So Moritz, back to like him. They had to take an exam to see if they could like progress in school because actually, so I'm taking German class right now. In Germany, how it works is there's like 3 different schoolings that
Oh,
you take a test at the end of your elementary school.
is it like elementary, middle, high school, but just like
Kind of.
cut up differently?
But basically what it is after the end of like elementary school, but elementary school is like lengthened for them.
Yeah.
So after the end of that, you take a test and then that decides what school you get into. It's either gymnasium, which is like really smart people.
Oh.
Something else and something else.
Is it like the like smart people in the middle, not smart? Is it just like
Yes.
that? Okay.
Based on where you end up, like the less smart is just like jobs. And then like 9 to 5 jobs, like not very good. The
Yeah.
middle is like more opportunity, and the smartest like college, like doctors, like great jobs, stuff like that. So I'm assuming that's kind
That's
of
like the days off a test.
yeah,
A single test.
test. Yeah.
That's
And so it is. And so basically what I was kind of guessing that was a little bit off of that because
yeah.
this kind of decided that like if he was going to progress or not.
Yeah.
And so then after that, so he actually passes. But the school instructors were like, no, we're gonna fail him. And it didn't make any sense. And I was just, but I don't know.
They
And
just
then
didn't like him. They said no.
yeah, they did. Yeah, they did not. And so he realized he fails, and then he writes to Melchior's mom actually, because his parents are not the greatest,
Yeah.
and so he asks her for money to like flee to America, but she's like, no, that's not a good idea, and
Yeah.
she refuses. And this is where he starts going downhill.
Yes. Where his hair gets messy. He becomes an e-boy.
An emo.
He's an emo of the 18th century. 18th century.
Yeah, then here's where Melky is starting to reflect on stuff. He's like, I'm in the middle of adulthood and childhood. Like, because it is a weird time.
It is so weird.
It is. It's
my greatest example of this is so little. Kid sizes and adult sizes. Where do you go?
Exactly.
Which one do you do?
Exactly.
And then also people are like, you're too young, you're a kid, but also you're almost an adult. You can make your own decisions.
Exactly. That's a
both. These are like very minor ones, like smaller ones, but like a good representation of it, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so that's like how he's feeling. He's like, I don't. What?
Yeah. It's confusing, and like the brain is in a completely different.
And you're going through puberty, like.
Yeah, it's a lot.
How old are they?
I'm not exactly sure.
I'm finding out.
Good idea, because I could make a guess, but I could be completely wrong. So
14.
Okay, makes sense.
Or at least Melky is 14.
I feel like he's a little bit older than everyone else.
I think
so.
Yeah. So everyone else is probably like 12, 13.
12, 13, yeah. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look like it in the musical, but I mean,
because they're not going to cast children in this. They are not gonna cast underage kids in this. They gotta have to cast adults.
Yeah, true. And so after that, he what's her name? Wenla. I keep on almost saying Leah because I know that's her real name.
They like talk about what happened. They like apologize, but they're also like that. Like they both are like, that's when they like, I felt something while doing that. And then they realize they have feelings for each other. They do a kissy kiss. And then a little saucy, a little naughty.
A little touch of spice.
He then tells her about sex. And at first, he fingers her.
And she has no idea what she's doing the whole time. She like knows generally, but she's like
he didn't force her to do it though. I feel like.
Yes.
She didn't fully know what it was. He wasn't like, he was like, if we can not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think she enjoyed it, so she was fine with it.
I was actually reading like about the whole musical, and originally in the off-Broadway version, she didn't give consent.
Oh.
But that. So good thing they changed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she, even though she wasn't really fully aware, like he said, like
they don't like actually do it. I think he just put his hand under her dress and just like.
That's what I'm. Yeah. Like actually full. It just.
Jonathan Groff is a homosexual.
Yeah, true.
So I don't think they'd make him have sex with a girl on stage every night.
Yeah, and like plus like it's like I don't.
Because you can't. Also, they wouldn't just do that really quick. Because there's a point. I don't remember where. But there's a guy where the guy's like jerking off, and he's like, you can tell he's not actually doing it. He's just moving his hand underneath.
Yeah, and there's another like. It's just I don't think they would do that anyway. Like I don't think they would.
Yeah, they wouldn't do it anyway. Like they're not gonna have them do that.
It's a show. Like it's not real.
So they have to very quickly just stop in the middle of it.
Yeah, and like they do some very like in comparison to like another sex scene
Very
in like
intimate. Like
in Heather's, like for example, they don't really like they kind of
they just kind of like take their clothes off and just kind of sit there.
yeah, but like in this one, it's like more like they definitely more, but
it's a lot closer to it. But yeah, so then that happens, and then he has like it's like we don't see any private parts, but like they're very much visually doing it, and we're like, oh,
yeah, like okay,
all right.
yeah, I think they I know he stripped his pants, but
He did? I don't know that.
yeah,
Oh,
because I
I
when they
literally didn't notice.
like recounting the event like in the next like one like you know when he was like what do we do like do we sin like the guy like the pastor guy was like talking
Yeah, yeah.
yeah and they were like reimagining it because you remember how the camera went black like halfway through the scene so
oh yeah,
the counting scene and then yeah he did strip his pants in that one but I mean, it was definitely more realistic than
yeah.
many other things but it's not completely real so um let's see what's after that this is where the act ends
Yes.
and then the next act comes on and then they kind of like recount their moment and they're like reflecting on what just happened because you know yeah
They both enjoyed it. Probably both their first times.
That's yeah that's what I was gonna say I was gonna say that's probably both their first obviously
it's whatever her name is. One left.
But yeah I'm pretty sure it was both their first but and then after that it switches back to Ilsa and Moritz again and like Ilsa is like recalling her like childhood events with Moritz because apparently they have a little bit of a history and she invites him she's like hey you should come over and like hang out with me and like walk me to my house and she was like he was like no sorry
yeah well and, he like thought about it for a second
yeah but then he regrets his decision
and then he shoots himself
he commits suicide
and I was like what
I know and it's the beginning of the worst to be honest so
and then goes into Left Behind where Melky is like he's singing about the funeral and everyone's dropping a flower into his tombstone and I was like oh
I know and he was singing about how like you know like his parents weren't the greatest and that made of his you know death so yeah that was quite sad it was kind of predictable anyway because he was talking about it in the song where he was asking for money he was like I might as well just die there's like nothing left for me
and his hair was also very messy when this happened by the way
very messy like all very like unorganized and then after this they so this song's actually kind of funny I kind of like it but it's where like the school instructors they're like oh we found this essay that Melchior wrote for Moritz and like and we blame him for his death because they want to take that opportunity they're so manipulative
they don't like him
yeah they really don't they don't like any one of them to be honest so he realizes well I'm done there's no way I can avoid this there's no way so and I also wanted to talk about something because the like the whole musical you can sometimes see that like the other cast members are watching them or like sitting on the sidelines watching what's happening on stage and for this song they're all singing and it's just kind of like his moment but also like they're all singing it's very interesting the way they do so yeah and then we have a reprise of a song that was earlier but in a different light I guess because it's not just those who are hetero experiencing their
Yes.
sexuality in this
Because
setting.
also schools, even now, very little. I mean, schools are starting. Some are starting to implement it. Homosexuality is not all taught in schools. It's all
Yeah.
accidents,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
only men and a woman. That's it. That's all. The only thing that's taught. That's all that's taught. Nothing else is taught.
I know. I'm gonna be in health next year, and I'm because I was talking to someone about that actually, because they're like, what happens if you don't want to do it with a man? Like, they don't teach you about that.
They don't.
So
They do not
it's
teach
just
you.
it's just like, you know, they should really show some
Yeah, and
show
I think some schools are starting to implement it. Also, sex ed is not. It's not at all good. It's literally like, don't do it.
I know, yeah. It's
That's it.
just
They tell you nothing. So
mhm. Yeah, it's definitely like, there's no representation. So
mhm.
kind of very sad. But in here at least, like, there's definitely no representation.
Oh yeah, here it's even worse.
God. And these guys, like, I didn't know they existed
I
until
think they
this
were there just to show this experience.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so they were just like, wait, we're both men, huh? And went, kissed each other. That was pretty much it.
Yeah. It's just the same song that I keep on almost saying their real names, but Wendla and Melchior were singing earlier, but they're singing this time. And then a lot of stuff happens. And it
so
goes.
so is this where yeah, I think so. Yeah, so this is so Wenla turns out she is pregante.
Or as the sauce
Because
says,
because then her mom was like, you're pregnant. She's like, but I'm not married. How could I be pregnant?
exactly. She was so confused. She was like, "What did I do? Like,
And the
I
mom's
didn't."
like, you know what you did. It's like, no, what did I'm not married. How could I? Because her
Like,
mom told her you can only be married and be in love with a man. She's like, well, I'm not married. She doesn't know what sex is. So she doesn't know that that's how you impregnate someone. and then
yeah,
and their mom's like so mad at her. It's like, you didn't tell me.
exactly. She was so mad, but she literally didn't tell her at all.
Yeah.
She did not. She lied.
Because so then Melky obviously got her pregnant, like who else?
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, maybe that one guy.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Fuck you!" Like, she gets so mad,
Yes.
so upset. And
Yeah.
it leads
But it's
to
the mom's freaking fault. This is also a thing. Because when you just tell kids, don't do it, then they're like, well, what happens if we do it?
exactly. And
Which is
honestly,
why the system sucks.
because there's like, kids at this age, anything they're told not to do, they're gonna want to rebel.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's basically a setup for failure. There's no,
Yes.
yeah,
And then we also don't tell them what it even is.
exactly,
Then if they do it, they won't know.
exactly. Like this poor girl, she could have avoided this. She could have avoided her death if she would have known.
Oh yeah, because then the mom sucks and she's like, I'm getting you an abortion, lol. And like doesn't tell her. Because she
Exactly.
planned on like keeping the baby because then she read letters to Melky being like, our child.
Yeah, and she was so like happy about it,
And then he
especially
was just like, oh, well, we have a kid now, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Like, and they were trying to be like optimistic about the situation,
Yeah.
even in like
And then her
bad,
mom's like, no. And so she pays a guy to like do an abortion. And obviously abortions then were like not good.
not reliable.
And he ends up killing her.
Yeah, kills her.
So
Literally,
a little bit more than an abortion.
little bit more, just a little bit.
Just a tad.
And she and Melky, okay, this was kind of funny how this worked, because she was like, meet me at the graveyard, and then he finds her dead graveyard, and
He
it's like
literally met her at the graveyard.
kind of funny. Like, this is actually kind of funny.
A little ironic.
Yeah.
I
She was
mean,
like,
she did meet him at the graveyard.
yeah, just not alive.
He's just not alive. In the ground, 6 feet under, but they were
Yeah.
they were quarantining, they were staying 6 feet apart.
That's so funny.
Okay,
They
but
predict
he's
COVID.
sad, and he's like, well, guess I'll kill myself, but then he doesn't.
Yeah, because they both come. They
They're spirits. Like,
yeah,
Moritz and Wenla, they just like, hey, I'm here now.
yeah, and they come back and they're like, continue in life, remember me forever,
Mhm.
live or
And
else,
remember us.
remember us or else. And so
Have fun.
it almost became Sweeney Todd. He literally pulled out a razor from
Yes.
Sweeney Todd.
And then he was like really close, and then they're like, no, stop
No,
it.
stop. Get some help. And he doesn't kill himself, and he lives.
Yay.
So, and then it's really cool how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all dressed in more modern clothing.
Well, it's modern for the time. It was like
Yeah,
10 years ago, 2009. 2009, is it?
Well, it went on Broadway in 2006.
Oh, okay, 2006. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So a little more than like 15 years ago. So, oh, that's how old I am.
I know, same. What?
15 years ago. When I saying? Oh, it happened 15. And so the clothes were modern for that time.
Yes. And it's really cool because they're like educating the modern generation about this and saying that like parents can't like rule everything and like how their decisions like, you know. So
there's another thing with the parents is that they're just told obey us.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not exactly how that
and you're
works.
like not allowed to question them, which a lot of parents are still like that now. Like you're not allowed to question them ever. You just have to obey their rules.
Exactly.
And if you have a different opinion, no, you don't.
Actually, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
There's no other opinion. But you're not even told why. And like that's the whole thing about this.
That was annoying when parents are just like, you're not told why, you're just told no.
Exactly. Like and you're like, why? And then they're like, cuz.
Like, well, why? And then they get mad at you.
They're like, are you back talking? And
it's like, no, I just want to know why.
Yeah. And that's kind of what this is all talking about. Like, educate your children.
Educate your children. Don't tell them a stork.
Literally. And especially like we were just talking about for those who aren't hetero, then them education too. They deserve equal representation.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I'd be like, wow, I really want to be that guy's friend. So badly, I want to be his friend. I so badly want to be his friend so bad.
I don't know like anything because I wasn't educated either. But an old friend was like, I'm going to ruin your innocence today and tell you everything. And I was like, okay. It was kind of like the essay, except it was all in a text.
Oh.
So
modern day version of this.
So yeah. That was that. It was really good. It was just a really like you know, because I'm not educated, I wasn't most comfortable with the topic at the time, but I thought it was a really good representation and a really like story too. So yeah.
Recommend if you're comfortable with it. Definitely. Check us out on our Instagram, Musical Chairs Podcast, Twitter, Podcast Chairs, Patreon, $3 a month, and you get stuff early. That's it. I'm Joshua.
I'm Chloe.
Goodbye.